Good morning, everyone. I'm Myra Ansari here for Wave Now. We are going live to Floyd County, where the prosecutor and folks from law enforcement, they are announcing the creation of the Floyd County Drug Interdiction Task Force. It's created from the Opioid Settlement Fund. They already started, but let's listen in.
Drug task forces, regional treatment hubs, early intervention and crisis support, and other important programs aimed at combating substance abuse and overdose. We're proud to see this money having such a positive impact around the state. So I wanted to read that in. I would like to thank everybody here today, to extend special thanks to elected officials that are a big part of why we are here. Prosecutor Chris Lane, Judge Carrie Stiller, and the County Commissioners Al Knable, Jason Schnarp, and John Snellenberger. First, I would like to set the stage for the reason we are here talking about this today. Attorney General Todd Rokita's office began distributing millions of dollars to local governments like Floyd County in 2022 as part of a settlement from lawsuits against major drug companies for their roles in the opiate crisis. The state of Indiana and all the cities, towns, and counties are set to receive $507 million over an 18-year period. Attorney General Rokita called the settlement a huge win for the state and said it will help communities fight the drug crisis, bolster law enforcement and task force, and fund treatment and other programs. Those monies that Floyd County are set to receive have been divided into two funds, restricted and unrestricted. The restricted fund has already been allocated to treatment and other mental health programs through JRAC to help folks who have found themselves negatively impacted by their use of illegal drugs so that hopefully they can successfully rejoin society. These are two sides of this equation, treatment and enforcement. Judge Stiller will speak of the treatment component, but we are here today to speak the other side, law enforcement. The unrestricted fund currently has not been allocated. The stakeholder I mentioned earlier are committed to allocating those funds to, in Attorney General Rokita's terms, bolster law enforcement activities. And I can't say enough for the Floyd County Commissioners for their support of this and collaboration. It's very important to how we protect our communities and how we fund this type of program. Law enforcement must seek out and hold these individuals responsible that deal drugs in our community, as well as drug users who wreak havoc on our community by committing criminal offenses. These individuals will have three choices. One, stop committing crimes. Two, move out of Floyd County. Or three, be held accountable for their actions, potentially going to prison. We want to thank you here today and let the other speaker who is up next.
Thank you, Sheriff. I'm Carrie Stiller, Judge, Floyd Superior Court 1, and I am the chair of Floyd County JRAC. That is our Justice Reinvestment Advisory Council. We have many members of our JRAC here today, including our co-chair, my co-chair, Judge Justin Brown of our Floyd Circuit Court. JRAC is an advisory council made up of over 30 members of our county, including stakeholders, elected officials, and those with knowledge specific to mental health and addiction, working together to reduce recidivism and promote safety and prosperity for all. With the ordinance passed by our commissioners yesterday, Floyd County JRAC will serve as an advisory board to the commissioners in making recommendations for the use of the restricted funds we receive from the Big Pharma settlement, which is estimated to be $4.9 million through 2038. Our goal is to work creatively and collaboratively with our community stakeholders so that we can continue to fight the drug and mental health epidemics that are plaguing the families in our community. In order to do that, though, we need your help. JRAC is currently accepting applications from the community to fund initiatives which would address both substance use and mental health. And you can go to the JRAC website located on floydcounty.in.gov to learn how to apply. Now, the settlement funds provided by this lawsuit give our community the opportunity to make a huge impact on the drug and mental health crisis right here in Floyd County. And on behalf of JRAC, we have been and will continue to work tirelessly to ensure these funds are used responsibly and with full transparency to the public. I'll now turn it over to our commissioners who had this vision, and we thank them And we'll begin with Jason Sharp.
Good afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Jason Sharp. I am the District 3 Floyd County Commissioner. I'd like to begin by thanking Judge Stiller, our prosecutor Chris Lane, and our Sheriff Steve Bush for their assistance and their vision to help bring us here today. As Chris alluded to, I believe that just about everyone here can attest to how bad the drug addiction problems in just about all the communities has gotten. I don't think any one of us has not had a friend or a family member who is affected by this crisis, and I can personally attest, as not only as a county commissioner, but as a professional first responder for 30 years, I've seen what this has done to people. It has ripped children away from their families, has ripped parents away from their children. So having this opportunity to dedicate these funds to both the recovery and treatment aspect and also the law enforcement interdiction was very important, because I don't think solving this problem is it can just be attacked from one angle. It has to be attacked from several angles. And I think that everybody here today has recognized that. So thank you, everyone, for everything that you've done, and I'm happy to help. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Al Knable, County Commissioner, District 1. Our prosecutor, Chris Lane, started our press conference a little early, which is great. We've been here about 10 minutes. During that time, approximately 2 people have died in the United States from drug overdoses. In our country, 1 death by overdose occurs roughly every 5 minutes, and Floyd County is not immune from this plague. This has been an ongoing, decade-long curse impacting nearly each aspect of our public discourse. It is a constant drain on our government, your government's resources and services. It is a rot on every facet of our community spirit. As individuals and collectively, we must do better. We need to be more compassionate, but we also need to be stronger. We need to be more dedicated in our resources and our efforts. I am encouraged that the measures we put forward today are steps in the direction of hope, in the direction for a promise for a better tomorrow. I ask that you please join us in our efforts and join us in prayer for their success. I want to close just by thanking everyone here today. You all have an interest in this. You all have a stake in this. Our judiciary, Judge Brown, Judge Stiller, our law enforcement personnel. Are you law or order or both?
I'm both.
Okay, yeah. Lane's both. But, everybody out there protecting us right now needs our help, our thoughts, our prayers, our encouragement. I really want to thank the professionals we have here in Floyd County. I know they're up to the challenge, and I hope the measures that we put forward last night and again that we're discussing today will help them in their efforts to really build a better community and get us back to where we need to be and break the back of this epidemic. Thank you.
Are we open for questions now? There you go. Before we take questions, I'd like to, Judge Stiller, could you have Ann Carruthers come up briefly?
Yes,
We have
Ann,
one of our partners that works with JRAC, and I'll let Judge Stiller speak briefly, but Ann Carruthers has developed a program that the courts directly partner with, and that's what this will go toward. Their attempt is to get those who are addicted to the appropriate places, and I'll let briefly Judge Stiller, and then we'll take questions.
Thank you, Chris. I do think it's important to introduce Ann Carruthers, and a lot of her team members are here. Ann is really a community organizer. She is the glue that sort of holds JRAC together. She keeps us on track. She's got the specialized knowledge that we need about mental health and addiction to be informed and to do the things that we need to do to fight this battle. And so we thank Ann and her team for everything they've done. For Floyd County, we've got them here to help us field questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Open to questions. Feel free to ask away, and then we'll take them in order with the specialty. You know what? I'm going to let Dr. Knable talk on that, the need and why this funding is so important, Doctor.
Well, I think the need, again, I like to speak in broad terms, but I can tell you that I don't know. We have two judges here today. What percentage of the people in your courtrooms are there, at least in part, because of substance abuse?
Well, this would be, nearly, over 90%, I would say, of the cases that come through this courthouse, civil and criminal alike, are driven in some manner by drugs or alcohol use or abuse.
90%, roughly.
I would say easily.
Okay. How many of the arrests of law enforcement?
So our top three offenses in our jail is all related to drugs.
Yeah. So if we can impact that even a little bit around the edges, 10%, it's going to have positive impacts on every aspect of this community. Every dollar that we don't have to spend on that, every life that's not wasted on that, can be put towards the betterment of the community for other types of services. If you look at it just in personal terms, I mean, as Prosecutor Lane said earlier, everybody here's been impacted by this. Family, associates, people that we work with. Take even one of those 10 people out of that cycle, and we're going to have a better community. We're going to have a better Floyd County. We're going to have a better world. So again, from a practical dollars and cents thing, it's a drain on our budgets. But on a spiritual drain, it's just a drain on our humanity collectively and individually. So the nice thing about this, the ordinances that were passed last night, and I think Sheriff Bush and Prosecutor Lane were both very, very courteous and kind by saying it was the commissioner's vision. We bought into that vision, but in part, a large part, that was brought to us as an imperative from them. They needed help, and we are here to help. So that money has now been dedicated over the next 5, 10, 15 years. So it will be there to be spent on drug rehabilitation, drug interdiction, to hopefully keep the drugs from getting into the hands of those teenagers that Prosecutor Lane spoke about in the first place. And that's going to hopefully have better impact down the road. I mean, again, we've locked that money in here in Floyd County to be spent on those purposes. It's not going to go anywhere else.
The process as far as intervening with people who have maybe been struggling with drug addiction and mental health issues. When you look at that process and how that might look, I guess what do we expect as far as how people are taken care of, or how they might be, diverted from anything else, of course?
And that's probably a good question.
I was going to say, I'll jump in and Ann can help me out. So we're looking at this from lots of different aspects. And where we started, because we saw it was a bit of a weakness in our county, was the criminal justice system. And frankly, that's where a lot of this ends up. And so we looked at both, all of the they call them intercepts. So each point during the case of a criminal defendant, a person who's been charged with a crime, from the point of arrest all the way through their time in the jail, if they go into the jail, and then beyond. And so what we're trying to do is make sure that these individuals who are affected by drug abuse or substance abuse or mental health disorders, and a lot of it's co-occurring, so it's both, and make sure that they have opportunities for treatment at each and every phase as they go through their case, and then well beyond that. And that's where the extra work that we're doing and the extra funding will come in handy, because we don't have systems set up necessarily for all of this. So we're literally inventing the wheel here on some of these programs. And that's why we're looking for creative options. And a lot of places are doing this. We have a lot of initiatives that are really working already that we have started, and we look forward to looking at more and doing more, and just keep expanding to be able to affect more and more people, not just in the criminal justice system. Our health department is also using a lot of similar options, a peer navigator. And so we're wanting to get these opportunities for treatment and wraparound services for every person that is not able to do it for themselves.
Any other questions?
Could you give us a little more about the interdiction side of it, just how that'll be implemented?
Sure, I'll let Sheriff Bush talk about that.
How that'll be different from what's already in place, or what's going to be expanded?
So what this does, the money allows us to have the use for investigative tools. There's a variety of areas that we will do use that money towards that. So it allows for an example, overtime. If we have a situation where we need overtime, we have other investigative tools. We'll go into it at a later date once we get into the meat and potatoes of what we will do. But at the same time, as we are, elected officials are standing up here, excluding Ann, but she's always been brought in as part of the team, of course. But as elected officials, we are here to serve. And I was elected sheriff to protect this community. And so I'm kind of joked around. I'm kind of the man in the middle, because on one hand, we got to hold people accountable and enforce the laws and get the drugs off the street. But on the other hand, we have a jail of 300 people that we have a captive audience. And so with that audience, we want to make sure that we have programs set in place, whether they're faith-based, and also programs put in place that battle mental illness and addiction and anger issues, and amongst other things. So we have a change while incarcerated team that we developed over my first 18 months, that we have a transitional coordinator, a clinical therapist, a programs facilitator, and an overseer and a liaison of the courts. So as it's been said before several times, we are a collaborator, a group, and we work together, and it shows in terms of why we're here today, but also the programs and the tools that we will use on the streets. To what we've talked about with Judge Stiller and JRAC, we've talked about our gaps. Where are our gaps in our systems as we go through this process, where it's the criminal justice, where it's the police on the street. So it's really multifaceted, but at the same time, this money will enable us to have investigative tools to use towards our investigations of drugs.
Thank you for being here today. This group will be available for questions afterwards, but thanks again. We're honored to have you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.